今晚都嚟睇英文翻大事回顧。
Welcome to Hong Kong Review 2025. It has been a year marked by a series of to test, from black particles found in public housing drinking water to scandals involving counterfeit bottled water purchased by government departments. But the most devastating tragedy was a 5-alarm fire at Taipo's Wanful Court, which claimed more than 160 lives. The blaze exposed lapses across various levels, from construction to supervision, and the government says it will pursue accountability to the end. That fatal afternoon on November 26th, the blaze broke out at Lantern House in Wanful Court in Taipo. The fire spread rapidly along the external scaffolding, ripping through 7 of the 8 residential blocks, yet the fire alarm system never sounded. The Fire Services Department continued to deploy manpower to the scene. Shortly after 6 in the evening, the fire was upgraded to a 5-alarm blaze.
We encounter particular difficulties in the fire is spreading quickly to nearby buildings, and we received numerous assistance calls from the public, and also debris and scaffolding of the affected buildings are falling down, so pose additional danger to our frontline personnel. Besides, the temperature inside the buildings concerned are very high, so our rescue and firefighting operation is becoming more difficult in the hours of night.
Wanful Court is home to more than 4,600 households. With the fire raging on and no home to return, residents and survivors were taken to temporary shelters. On the second day, many stayed at the site trying to locate their missing loved ones. More than 2,300 firefighters and paramedics were deployed, and it took over 43 hours to fully douse the blaze. The catastrophic fire claimed 161 lives, including one firefighter who died in the line of duty.
點解會有火？俾大家知道明白白先咯。點解發生呢件事先？咁後續就係話工程係有問題，查過水落石出嚟。
At the time of the incident, the estate was undergoing major renovation, with scaffolding erected around all 8 buildings. Late that night, authorities said the spread of the fire was unusual and suspected a link to the scaffolding netting. Initial inspection suggested the netting met standards, but subsequent checks found some of it to be subpar. Secretary for Security Chris Tang said 7 samples were found not to meet flame retardant standards. Some placed compliant netting in easily accessible areas, but the legal ones were elsewhere, he said. Police and the Independent Commission Against Corruption formed a joint task force arresting multiple individuals, including contractors, consultancy executives, and both former and current Owners Corporation chairpersons on suspicion of manslaughter and corruption. The government also set up an independent commission of inquiry chaired by Judge David Locke to look into the cause of the fire and systemic failures. It has been granted powers to potentially seek statutory authority if needed. Chief Executive John Lee says the fire reflects serious negligence from construction through supervision, and the investigation will pursue accountability to the very end.
上嚟神國機又係李家超，打死佢！
All buildings will have major renovation to remove scaffolding netting immediately. The government says contractors must now provide flame retardant certification, conduct on-site sampling tests, promote metal scaffolding, and ban smoking at work sites.
The government has
又係麥美娟，
buildings management
多謝麥美娟2025大事回顧。
dissolve the owners corporations management committee.
我今晚再睇個大事回顧84台。
China King Park On Management Company Limited, which is a subsidiary of China King Group, to handle all the day-to-day operation of the management committee. This action will only
成咗生菜
the
部分。
owners of the platform court to handle the various complicated legal procedures with expertise assistance.
In the middle of this year, black particles were found in drinking water of multiple blocks at Queens Hill Estate and Shanghai Court in Fanling. Some residents found their water filters clogged with black particles after just one day. The Water Supplies Department admitted the issue was unacceptable visibly, but insisted the particles pose no health risk.
即係話冇問題咯，可以放心飲用，但係自己心入邊過唔到咯，驚咯。咁當然係唔放心啦。調翻轉你叫佢飲，佢都唔敢飲啦。
After several days of testing, authorities confirmed the sediment was bitumen mixed with resin materials.
呢兩樣其實咧都會係
Authorities say both materials are commonly used in water supply systems and would not pose a health risk.
降落咗咧，亦都唔會對人體構成影響。
Investigations showed they were for protective coating that peeled off from the valves on a section of pipeline to be replaced. However, similar cases later emerged in Grand Promenade and Taipei. The government says it will deepen traceability work using robots to detect the condition of bitumen coating inside pipes, step up frequency of water testing, and improve filters. In the long term, around 700 kilometers of bitumen-coated pipes will be replaced, a process expected to take 4 to 6 years, with only 20 kilometers completed in the first phase. Another scandal of the year, government procurement of allegedly counterfeit bottled water in a 3-year, $52.9 million contract. From late June, government offices on Hong Kong Island and outlying islands switched suppliers to Xindingxin Trading. Xindingxin was later found to supply falsely labeled bottled water, which identified the manufacturer as a major Chinese beverage company. That company later denied affiliation with Xindingxin. Police later arrested Xindingxin's head on suspicion of fraud. Xindingxin's bottled water was believed to come from this factory in Dongguan. The government logistics department later terminates all contracts with Xindingxin and its associated owners. Authorities also admit failures in vetting bidders, but insist protocols were followed. Then Director of the Government Logistics Department Carson Chen said the current procurement system might not be fully capable of preventing deliberate fraud by bidders. Authorities later said the incident likely involved human lapses and would launch disciplinary investigations into relevant government personnel, including Carson Chang, who retired this year. Carson Chang was originally scheduled to receive the Silver Bohemia Star. The government said the award would not be granted until the investigation concludes. To strengthen administrative accountability, the Civil Service Bureau proposed a departmental head responsibility system. If serious problems arise in a government department, a dedicated task force will investigate, and senior officials will be held accountable.
如果你去打仗咧，你一定係管將軍，由將軍。
Chief Executive John Lee says if you go to war, you must manage through your generals, and if every department had managers well, then all my soldiers can fight and win.
做好管理，然之後我每個將軍，佢嘅兵都係能打仗，打勝仗。
In October, the government said the current evaluation system cannot fully reflect actual performance and needs review.
而家真身點咧係好清楚。
Secretary for the Civil Service Ingrid Yeung said civil servants' current salary point system is linked to performance, but in some cases, civil service performance evaluations have been too lenient.
國民寬鬆呢個現象。
Facing a fiscal deficit, the government decided to freeze salaries for principal officials and civil servants for 1 year, and to trim about 10,000 civil service posts to ease public expenditure. The $2 transport concession for elderly passengers was also revised. Now, trips for elderly beneficiaries that cost over $10 will charge 20% of the original fare, with a maximum discount of 240 trips per month.
有啲老人家攞咗幾咧去錢，我哋公嗰啲係要搭10幾蚊一程嘅，嗰啲老人家咪難以接受咯。
The government said the $2 concession currently costs about $6 billion annually. The new $2 or 20% scheme is expected to save nearly $700 million from the public coffers. It will be implemented in April next year.
我而家睇戲。
National Secretary Paul Chen said the policy is well-intentioned, encouraging the elderly to be out and about, but there's a need to rein in long-term growth in expenditures, so the government is striving to strike a balance between the two.
求取一個平衡。
In March, 5 government-licensed taxi fleets began trial operations offering app-based bookings and electronic payment methods. They must install monitoring cameras to track driver service and driving performance. However, some drivers are reluctant to join. This caveat flagged the lack of freedom. By the end of July, 5 taxi fleets had around 1,000 taxis in service, which is below the licensing threshold for 2,100 vehicles. Authorities said fleets met other criteria and were granted official licenses, but some noted it was hard to find matching taxis on the platform. After years of debate, regulations for online ride-hailing were enacted this year. The government requires licensing for platforms, vehicles, and drivers expected to be implemented as early as the fourth quarter next year. Authorities stress ride-hailing services can coexist with taxis.
但係最終咧，我一定係以市民嗰個安全。
The transport chief said they are not regulating for the sake of
陳
regulation,
美寶
nor do they want to hinder orderly development.
佢哋嗰個人罪嘅發展。
The second phase of the plastic waste reduction plan banning disposable lunchboxes, cups, and lids was originally scheduled to take effect this year before the government announced a decision to delay the implementation. The waste charging scheme already deferred last year will not be reintroduced during the current term, and the government says it sees no need for accountability measures. Secretary for Environment and Ecology Zhe Qingwen said it's not the right time to implement the waste charging scheme at this moment given the public sentiment. The Office of the Ombudsman, which monitors government departments, removed all investigation reports prior to April 2023 in the middle of the year, raising concern over transparency and accountability. The office explained that most recommendations had already been implemented, and keeping the reports might mislead the